how are you? I hope that you are doing fantastic. If you're new here, my name is Gina. Welcome to my channel. I talk about everything history, mystery, true crime, paranormal activities, or even just sometimes random content. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps bring my engagement up, which helps my channel be seen. And so I'd really appreciate that. I know I've been kind of neglecting my channel. I've been extra busy because I got a new job. And so that's been going on. And then I'm also a little bit sick, so if my voice sounds kind of hoarse. Sorry guys, I had to. Yeah, if my voice sounds a little bit hoarse, that is why. I apologize in advance. However, I'm super excited because today I have something new to share with you guys. And it is a story, it's a tragic story of John Jones. Not the UFC fighter John Jones. No, not him. This John Jones. Before we get started, let's get into today's positive story. You know those days where everything seems super hectic and you forget everything and everything's just a crazy mess? Yeah, well, a woman in Ohio named Brittany Reed was having one of those days. After picking up her sons from soccer practice, she decided that she wanted to stop by and get them something to eat at McDonald's. Then she realized, crap, I forgot my purse. So she was about to leave. However, the McDonald's employee, teenager Wyatt Jones, he decided that he wasn't going to send them away. He was actually going to pay for all of their meals. Brittany, as a way to repay him, she did something amazing. She actually raised $32,000 to help him buy a new car. How great is that? Seriously, how great is that? We need a little bit more positivity in this world like that. That's amazing. I wish someone would give me $32,000. Sorry, that was just a random thought. Don't you wish that though? I wish that. Just being honest. Okay, without further ado, let's get started. Splunking, what is it? It's just another word for cave exploring, the hobby of literally going inside caves and seeing what's in there. That's what splunking is. Personally, it's a no from me. I feel like I would be claustrophobic inside a place like that. It's dark and it might be humid and it's definitely tight in some spaces. I would probably be scared to do that. But there's other people that enjoy that kind of thing and good for them. One of these people is John Jones, a 26-year-old University of Virginia medical student. He grew up in Utah and his dad would take him and his brother Josh exploring caves whenever they were little. Of course, he became accustomed to dark spaces, dark tight places, and he enjoyed it. He liked cave exploring. Like I said, John was a medical student at the University of Virginia and he lived in one of the dorms with his wife Emily and their 1-year-old daughter. In 2009, John decided that he wanted to go visit his family, not just because he missed them, but also because they had an announcement. John and Emily did. They were waiting for the arrival of their son. They were super excited to tell their family, so they wanted to go to Utah. They wanted to go tell their families. They packed their bags and headed to Utah, and when they arrived, John's brother Josh let them know that him, along with 10 other family members and friends, were gonna go cave exploring as a way to celebrate Thanksgiving. So they invited John, and John at first was a little bit hesitant because he hadn't been inside a cave for years now. And at this point, he weighed around 200 pounds and was 6 feet tall, so he knew that he was a little bit big to go cave exploring. However, they would be exploring a completely new cave that they hadn't explored yet, the Nutty Putty. And so John decided that he couldn't miss this opportunity, so he decided to go. Now, before we keep going, what is the Nutty Putty? The Nutty Putty Cave is a naturally formed thermal cave located in Eagle Mountain, Utah, and it got its name from Del Green, the man who discovered it, because of the clay that's found inside. It's very, I don't know, nutty putty. You can imagine that kind of clay. The cave consists of various tunnels, many of them are narrow. However, when I was doing research, a lot of the websites said that it was a good cave for beginners. The entrance to the cave was around 6 feet in diameter and it would drop down around 15 feet. That same entrance is the one that Josh, John, and family members took that day before Thanksgiving in 2009. Once they were inside, John, Josh, and a third friend decided to go their separate ways, separate from the main group, to search for a new tunnel called the Birth Canal. They decided to split up to be more efficient. Remember I said that John hadn't been cave exploring in years? Well, he was big now. Again, I'd say he was around 6 feet tall and weighed around 200 pounds. So when John thought that he found the birth canal, he made his way into the tunnel and he continued to like crawl, you know, in the tunnel until he realized that it kept getting more narrow as he went on. The tunnel got so narrow that John tried to turn back and realized he couldn't. So his only real option was to continue going, hoping that there would be an opening soon where he could be able to turn back around. So that's what he did. He tried to continue. As he tried to continue though, the tunnel kept getting more narrow. So what he did was exhale all his air from his lungs and keep going. However, when he breathed it in again, inhaled again, his lungs expanded and he got stuck for good. John realized he was really stuck, so he called out for his brother Josh, who came to him, and Josh tried to, you know, pull him back by his legs, but he couldn't. So then they tried other methods, and he tried to use his hands and his fingers to try to get out, but all he ended up doing was basically pinning his arms under himself so that he couldn't move at all. Josh then realized, crap, my brother really is stuck. So he decided to go look for help. Before that though, he tried to reassure his brother, and so they prayed together. Then he left. And he left John by himself to try to go get help.
Only a single rescuer can get in the space called Bob's Push, an area only 18 inches wide and maybe 10 inches high. Joan's brother saw him enter the passage while they explored.
He'd worked himself face forward through a series of tight passes, and he'd gotten himself to a point where he couldn't back up.
The part of the tunnel where John was stuck at was only around 10 inches wide and only around 18 inches tall. So that's around the size of a dryer machine entrance, you know, that round little place. That's around how much space he had. And he was also around 100 feet underground and 400 feet deep into the tunnel. He was so deep in that cave that when the rescue members arrived, they had to travel into the cave, and it took a while. They got there until around 12:30 in the morning. At around 12:30 in the morning, the rescue team members got to John. The first one at the scene was Susie Motola. Susie Motola was the first rescue member to be able to talk to John, and when she introduced herself to him, he said, "Hi, Susie. Thanks for coming, but I really want to get out." At this point, he had been stuck for around 3.5 hours. Over the next 24 hours, around 100 rescue members would try to free John. Their plan was to install a pulley and rope system to get John out of there as fast as possible. So John had gotten stuck at an angle. It was at like around a 70-degree angle, so his head was down here and his legs were up here. And as you can tell, that's a very bad position for the body to be in, because the blood, it's flowing to your head. There's not that much flow up to your legs or anything. And so even doctors that were at the scene determined that John wouldn't have a long time to live if he continued to be in that angle. Susie Motola was relieved by Ryan Schertz, another rescue team member, who was basically in charge of helping John maneuver around whenever the rescue team would want him to move, or try to move, I guess. He was the contact point between the members of the rescue team that were further out of the cave or the ones that were outside. He would be the contact point to try to talk to John. Ryan was there with John pretty much the whole time, and they even started to talk about their religion, their families, and even became friendly. John ended up falling back into the hole though whenever the pulley system completely stopped working. And it stopped working because either an anchor or a rope snapped and it hit Ryan in the face, which knocked him out. He not only got knocked out, but he had cuts on his face and his jaw was hurt, and he also got a concussion. So they had to take time out of the rescue mission to try to go get Ryan out so that they could get him help.
They were able to pull him to a more comfortable position for a short period of time and even provided him with food and water. But then equipment failed, and they were back to where they started.
Still far from being a recovery. It's a rescue. But the longer it goes, obviously, the more concern there is.
And tonight they are using every tool available to them, including some pneumatic tools, some air-driven tools, to try to make that hole larger, get perhaps an extra rescuer in there closer to him, maybe get a rope on him and get him back out of that tunnel, at least to a more comfortable position. What they're really worried about, though, as he gets more tired, he's in that awful position down there, he will be unable to help them with his own rescue, and that's something they really need right from him right now. They need him to put some effort into it and maybe get himself out, but he is exhausted is what they're telling us. Back to you, Mark and Sean.
Now Fields, earlier today, we all thought he'd be out by now. Are they worried? Are they starting to get a little bit worried about all this?
They're very worried about him. He's in the cave, and it's quite comfortable in this particular cave, we're told. The temperature is somewhere around 68 degrees, but you're still in a very uncomfortable position. In fact, Sergeant Spencer Cannon described it like this. As you're going through that, you have one arm up, one arm down, and this man is about my size. He's around 190, 200 pounds and 6 feet tall, so a very large guy, and he's in this space only 18 inches wide. So very difficult. He can't move at all, and after a while, the muscles are going to cramp up, and he just won't be able to move and help rescuers get him out of there.
It took around an hour to go inside, get Ryan, get him back out, and then reinstall the entire pulley system. And within that hour, John had become unresponsive. They needed him to be up because they needed him to try his best to try to push up or do something to try to get out. But at this point, he was completely unresponsive and he wasn't able to help them out at all, which made everything a lot more difficult. The doctors, they were trying to discuss alternatives on how to get John out because, again, he was at an angle like this and his legs were up here. And then the ceiling of the cave was so low that originally when they had tried to pull him out using that pulley system, his legs hit that low ceiling and he screamed in pain. I don't know if you guys do this. I used to play around with my hair tie and just like wrap it around my finger, and sometimes it would turn purple, and if I would hit it or anything, it would hurt extra hard just because I didn't have any circulation. Yeah, I know that's kind of weird, but that's how I imagine it would hurt John, because he wasn't getting any circulation to his legs at all, and then he hit them against the ceiling, so he screamed in pain. And they had tried to discuss cutting off his legs. However, they decided against it because they said he had been upside down for so long with so much blood rushing to his head and his lungs that cutting off his legs would cause his body shock and he would pass away. The team continued their efforts to try to get John out of that cave. However, he was completely unresponsive. He wasn't able to help out. And at around 11:56 on November 25th, after around 27 hours of being stuck, John was pronounced deceased. Before John passed, he was able to talk to his wife, Emily. So the rescue team members knew how much family meant to John, and so they installed 400 feet of cable and 2 radios so that he would be able to communicate with Emily.
It's now been about 22 hours since John Jones became stuck in that hole inside the cave. Just recently, they've been trying to figure out a way to have him communicate with his family by radio.
Want to have the family have a chance to talk to him, sort of boost his spirits a bit.
Rescuers say Jones is exhausted.
When they were talking on the radio, Emily said to John, "I love you, just keep fighting." And John had replied, "I love you, I love you. Tell Lizzie I love her. I'll get out and I'll come see you." Unfortunately, John never was able to make it out, and after he had been declared deceased, the rescue members tried to discuss how to get his body out, but again, he was unresponsive, of course, and there was no way that he would be able to help them out. So trying to get him out would have more risks to the rescuers' lives now, and so they decided that there were more cons than pros. So because of that, that cave was sealed with concrete with John's body inside. When I first started researching the story, I was incredibly interested. But then the more I researched, the more I realized how tragic it truly is. And wow, it gives me chills to think about it, because imagine like being stuck in a cave in darkness for so long, and then your rescue mission failing, knowing that you have a son on the way that you're never going to get to meet, knowing that you're not ever going to get to see your wife or your daughter again because you're stuck in a cave. And then after the mission failed, everyone leaving his body just in the cave in darkness at the place he died. And not only that, but then filling up the cave entrance with concrete so that no one else ever goes in there. And his body is just there forever. I can't. Emily and John's baby boy was born on June 15th of the following year, and he was also named John Edward Jones. After John's death, Emily and their daughter returned to their apartment in Virginia, but because it was student housing and there was no longer a student there, they had to find a new place to live. They moved in with Emily's parents until John Edward Jones II was born. Emily had been studying psychology, but after John's death, she no longer had the motivation to do this, so she just started a photography business and took some graphic design classes. After John's death, understandably so, Emily was very, very hesitant about falling in love again. However, her brother introduced her to Donovan Sanchez, and they ended up falling in love. Whenever Donovan asked Emily's parents for their permission to marry their daughter, he not only asked them, but he went to John's parents' house and asked for their permission to marry Emily as well. They got married on August of 2012, and John's father was actually the one who walked Emily down the aisle. Donovan and Emily had a child of their own named Emerson, so they're now a family of 5, and both Donovan and Emily make sure that John's kids get to know John's family very well. They spend a lot of time together still, they call each other, they talk to each other, and they keep good communication. So that's good. Still though, the story is so sad. And it was very interesting to research, but it's very, very sad. If you didn't know about this and you found it interesting, please leave a comment down below on your thoughts. Leave, positive messages. I don't know. I feel like I end a lot of videos with I don't know, but it's because a lot of the videos that I make are so sad, and I just, at the end of them, I just don't know what to say. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really, really appreciate you guys taking the time and watching my content. I hope to see you guys next time, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Just let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think about John's case, or if you had even heard about it before. Again, thank you so much, and I hope that everyone has a great day and stay safe.